Hi guys. Welcome to Black Mesa Gaming Division Archives. My name is Vilek and I will be your guide here. But first, let me change into something more comfortable. Somehow you have stumbled onto this small channel. This might seem like a shitpost, but what I will be trying to convey is my history of gaming. How I have been introduced to video games, what have I played, and how have the games influenced me and my taste. You might have already noticed that I ain't native English speaker. That's because I'm from Eastern Europe, though most of my countrymen prefer the term Central Europe. So the whole journey will be presented through the lens of the post-communism and how the gaming and technology looked in here back in the 90s and the early 2000s. My story with video games began somewhere around the year 2000 with the release of Diablo 2. I was 5 years old back then and I did not understand what was happening on a screen too well. That's why I did what any sane person would do. I watched a Let's Player play the game. Yeah, I know, in early 2000s, internet wasn't so popular, especially in post-Soviet bloc. I don't think we even knew what the internet was back then, but the Let's Player I've watched is probably the same guy you've watched when you were young. That means my father. From what I understand by talking to various people, this is a pretty common occurrence. Some young fella just sitting beside their father after his day's work, just chilling and watching him play some video games. Those videos will try to loosely follow the format of video game essays that you can find all over the YouTube on channels such as Avalanche Reviews, CV, Human Leaves, and so on. So if you just want to relax and put this video as a background noise, feel free, I don't really mind it. But back to the topic. Big thanks to the YouTube channel First Place HD, as I'm using their gameplay right now. As you might have imagined, getting the OG D2 to run on a modern hardware may be a pain in the back. So let's leave the potatoes on the side and focus on the meat. Diablo 2 has been released on 28th of June 2000. It is the second entry in the franchise and considered by many as the best one. That is straight up anecdotal evidence, as you can't compare Diablo 2 with Diablo 4 at the time of writing this script. Because only Diablo 4 is on the Steam charts and I don't really want to resort to Twitch viewership as anything meaningful. You might be looking at your monitor and wondering how the hell the game, in which you can count individual pixels, has garnered such a cult following. I won't really answer this question, as I will be going into more personal reasons why I think this game is good and why I remember it so fondly. When I think about my childhood, I can paint multiple pictures, such as playing football or soccer for those less cultured, hanging out with my mates at the park, so on and so on. But one of the most vivid memories is just sitting beside my father in the evening and watching him clear Act 2 and 3 with his barbarian. Back then, when the most fictional thing I saw was probably some episodes of Ed, Edd and Eddy, seeing packs of mobs throwing spells at my father while he's Goomba stomping them was something breathtaking for me. For a 5 or 6 years old me, the fantasy world of Diablo was something more than just a video game. It was a fuel for the engine of my imagination. The connotation of spending some quality time with my old man is something that impacted the memories too, for sure, but don't get me wrong, I think it was some kind of a turning point for me. No longer was my scope of interests narrowed only to dinosaurs, astronauts, or toy soldiers. The game has literally opened the floodgates of imagination for booger eating me. Back when my old man was playing Diablo, we didn't have internet connection yet, so playing meta builds was unthinkable. Damn, even the word meta did not exist. I mean, it existed, but in my language meta means finish line, so it had a completely different meaning than it has now. But that was the beauty of those times, you could just chill while playing the game. You didn't stress out if you didn't reach the fire resistance cap. I mean, yeah, you would probably get your ass handed to you, but it was part of a learning curve. I might sound like a 60 years old boomer mentioning that back in my day everything was better, but to be completely honest with you, it was just much simpler, much more relaxed and straight to the point. I kinda miss those days. Diablo's gameplay loop was simple. You clicked, your character attacked, you killed the mobs, and you got the loot. Plain and simple. And this is what people expected, and I think still expect to some extent from games nowadays. Simple and fun gameplay loop that keeps you entertained for hours. No microtransactions, no constant checking the data online, just laying back and enjoying what the devs cooked up for you. I actually have never seen my father finish the game, but that's alright, he was working 9 to 5 and had little time to play video games, considering he had other responsibilities too. He knew I really liked the game though. I think he never figured out that it wasn't about the game, but just looking up to him and watching him play. Nevertheless, he let me try the game, and since that day I have never abandoned playing video games. I can't recall what character I played, as those memories are really blurred for me. But the next memory of Diablo 2 holds special place in my mental locker. As I mentioned previously, internet wasn't really a big thing when I was young, but internet cafes were. For those who don't remember or even don't know what internet cafe is, I rush to explain, guys. From what I've read, those are still really popular in Turkey and Asian countries, but basically it's a venue with plenty of PCs set up where you can just rent a computer for a set amount of time. I think a good analogy would be cloud gaming, I guess, but back in the days you just had to move your lazy ass to the place to play the games. Anyway, back to the memory. I remember my cousin visiting me and taking me to one of those internet cafes. It must have been around 27th of June 2001, and it was the release date of Diablo 2's expansion pack, Lord of Distraction. We went to one of those cafes to try it out and we had some fun time. I remember my cousin trying to attack me in the Den of Evil because I transformed into werewolf with my druid. When I came back home, I booted up my PC and I saw that the icon of Diablo 2 on my desktop has changed. I was in awe. My 7-year-old brain could not comprehend why the icon is now blue instead of red. When my father explained to me that right after his work hours he went to the retail shop and bought a copy of the expansion pack, I was ecstatic. That meant not only that I have tons of content to play through, I also get to watch my father to play it through with his character. I know I've said that this episode will be about Diablo 2, but to be honest with you guys, I just wanted to record an intro to the series, which is my magnus op, my first and probably the last big project. I treat it as a vent to tell my personal stories, to express myself in a pseudo-artistic way using different tools, which I still try to learn. But the next episode we will talk about more memories and I will do my best to stick more to the formula of long format content such as video essays to fall asleep to. But for now...
Goodbye, amigo.